Hi guys, what a great set you put together. Charles, can you tell me a bit about the band and who's in the band now?
Oh yeah. I have on keyboards. I have Rodney Thomas. Rodney, did a lot of things in back in the days with the cool LL Cool J and quite a few other cats. I have let's see, we got Patricia Thomas is playing percussion and doing Lady T. She's our new Lady T. Call her Trish Love. And then we got Ewan Williams. Ewan is our guitarist. He's played with quite a few people. I just everybody in the group has played with tons of people. So I don't even have to go down the list of people that they've played with. It gives you a chance to look at a bio and stuff and see where everybody really came from. Also, I have Ray Woodard, which is an original member of Ozone, on saxophone. And I got Derek Organ. He's from Janet Jackson, Michael Jackson. He's actually from Ozone. He's one of the original Ozone drummers. He was our last drummer. Let's see who else we got. We got Rodney Trotter, lead singer. Mr. Trotter is, he can't say enough about him. He's actually the original Sir Nose guy. When that Parliament first got going with the Sir Nose thing, I'm sure he'll tell you more about that when you get to talk to him. Let's see who I'm missing. I got Julius Hudson on trumpet. Julius is a fantastic trumpet player. Has been around, actually did some stuff with Miles Davis and a few other people. I don't want to leave out nobody. Who else am I leaving out? I got Trish, Derek. I think I got everybody, and then me.
And then you, Charles. Yeah, that's brilliant. Ozone is just one of these. Ozone is like a band that's a magnet that attracts people, and it's attracted people over the years.
It really did.
What's that all about? How does Ozone just keep attracting people? What's going on there?
Well, in the Motown days, we were like the '80s Funk Brothers. They didn't want to really call us the '80s Funk Brothers because they didn't want to mess up the whole Funk Brothers thing that they had going already. So they didn't really give us a name, which was cool because we had our own name, which was Ozone. But we ended up not only getting to do 5 albums of our own on Motown, we backed up High Energy, we backed up Tina Marie, Bobby Nunn, DeBarge, just to name a few, So every time Motown good music, they would always call us Ozone because we were self-contained and we came with the full band and horns and everything. So it was awesome.
Yeah, Ozone's always been a force unto itself. It seems that it's all things to all men because it's been a band that's backed Sarita, Tina Marie, Billy Preston, Bobby Nunn. It just seems to have been this Billy Preston. It seems to be like a de facto standard band for that era. That sort of Motown era.
As a matter of fact, Billy was the first person we backed up.
Right.
We backed up. We was back before we actually signed. We was with Billy first.
Rodney, can I just ask you about your association with Motown? You worked with Holland Dozier and Holland back in the day. Can you just give us an insight into how that came to be?
Well, basically, I pretty much connected with Motown through Gerald Busby, which had pretty much connected me with Casablanca as well as Parliament Funkadelic with George Clinton. That was all orchestrated through Gerald Busby. At the time, I was being managed by Robert Byrd, Donald Byrd's nephew, and Dennis Thomas of Kool and the Gang. They was managing me, and they was as they was putting together the KGs and things of that nature. And we was up in New York, and just formulating, the direction of where we was going to go with myself at the time was Rodney Trotter's Egypt, and I was doing a solo situation there. It was one of the things where when Kool and the Gang was starting to venture out into the California area, and it's one of the things that we went on out there and connected with Gerald and through in Casablanca, because they was looking to put me on the Casablanca label at the time with my group Egypt, which ended up on Greedy Records. And through that transition, it was one of the things where, it kind of kicked me out with my solo project with Rodney Trotter's Egypt. And that's when George and Gerald was trying to collaborate with bringing me over to the Parliament side with Casablanca. But Cecil Holmes felt that it was too close of a marriage with, both of us having pretty much similar sound, and ended up, sticking with Parliament Funkadelic, which is, sticking with Parliament because Funkadelic was actually signed to Warner Brothers at the time, but sticking with Parliament and, just kind of developed that Parliament sound over there. And then they put me on a label called Greedy Records, which was a subsidiary label that was being ran by Wally and Winnie Roker, which was Wally Roker's, was the president at the time. So as that transition went on, it was one of the things that pulled me more in with Holland Dozier Holland, because it was a situation where my management, Kool and them, wanted to go ahead, and we had the interest of Holland Dozier Holland to come over and sign with them, and I ended up going over there. Brian Holland brought me over, and met up with Eddie Holland, and they really loved where I was going, what I was doing, and it ended up being with them and being one of their head producers there for the Shantytown label they created for me. And I had many different people that I was associating with there. Ronnie Laws and all of us was together on the Shantytown label. Yeah. And then Edward asked me to go ahead and start producing a lot for the HDH labels and the Invictus labels, where I went back and with my affiliation with Gerald Busby and George, went back and did an album called Tammy Renelius, which because actually Parliament was signed to Holland Dozier Holland. I was their first, company that they was actually with. Yeah. And went back and I revised the Osmium album, and we really just, really dialed in from there. That's what, my whole alliance with, with Parliament Cernos and that whole thing was just through all of that connection there, where we was, locking in. And then George asked me to come over and work with him at Hollywood Records, where we was going to do the double Parliament album and the double Funkadelic album. Wrote a lot of great songs with him with that on Stick It and Vibe. We did a lot of great things there, and actually toured with and worked with George over there for the Woodstock festival that they did in Rome, New York. We went all up there with Humpty Hump and Bootsy and all of us. We went up there and did that. But it was just all within that whole exchange of trying to get ourselves settled that ended up getting me over there back to Motown, where again my attorney Curtis Shaw called me and said, hey, we need you over here. It's a group called General Kane, and they're over here doing the funk. They got the sound, and we need you over here to put that thing on it. Yeah. So I went over to and got with General Kane, and we did the Girls album, which wasn't actually on Motown, but that Girls album led us into the In Full Chill album, which was on Motown. And that's the first album I locked in with Motown there, doing a lot of things there with Norman Whitfield Jr., myself. We went over there and really kind of fired up. And next thing I know, they had me doing some other artists that was over there. I did Chico the Barge, one of his first albums, as well as second album on Motown, Kiss Serious. Was one of the title tracks that we had there. Then I did a lot of stuff over there with the other artists that they had, as far as did some things with the Temptations along with Norman Whitfield Jr. I did some things with Four Top situation that was going over there. So it was a lot of things that we was doing. I had Ollie Woodson over there doing a lot of, did his solo project and was getting ready to fire that up before he passed. But it's a lot of things that was going on with that Motown side that pulled me in. And I worked closely with Carrie Ashby, Robert Gordy over there doing a lot of stuff. So, with my writers and everything with Joe Bett. So it was exciting period.
Yeah, it was a big creative time for Motown. It was just incredible what you guys have experienced with this label. Well, as everybody has with Motown over the years. It's just something I wanted to sort of touch upon is the influence Motown has had, with sort of 80s music, with my kind of generation. Because obviously I started in 80s with sort of Pride and Sade in London when I was 20. And you guys had been doing this thing with Motown in 72. Now, you had 10 years on everybody in London. So, whereas I was wanting to join a jazz funk band coming from a rock new wave thing, wanting to join a jazz funk band in London, and everybody was starting to put these jazz funk bands together. You guys had started from 72 onwards. So what I'm trying to get to here is the influence you guys had on our generation when we were making sort of jazz funk records, in the 80s and the late 80s there. Because I think Tina Maria, Sarita Rice, these people really influenced, young artists of the 80s like Sade and Madonna. Can you give me a bit of a spin on that from your perspective?
One thing I can say about Motown, they definitely set the bar, they set the trend for most, for a lot of music. They would come out with it first. Mr. Gordy was very good about going out and really getting all the best writers on his team. Which made for trend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, these guys the writing meetings was just incredible room to be in at Motown.
But there was this talent pool that was just, it just seemed to be endless of such talented people. I mean, you had, not only did you have, people like Miles Davis being incredible talents, but then he had a partner, Betty Davis, who was a phenomenal artist in her own right.
Yes.
And a precursor to everybody, of this generation. Well, of my generation, for a fact. The talent pool in the 70s was incredible. How did he find the talent? How did he find you guys?
You know what? I don't think he had to look. He didn't have to look for talent. You know what I mean? Talent just kept walking in his door, person after person, group after group, artist after artist, writer after writer.
Yeah.
He had a team of people that just really knew how to find talent. And when they saw talent, they bring it straight to Mr. Gordy. Say, hey, here you go.
Well, yeah. I mean, but it wasn't just it wasn't just artists, it was writers, you know, like
Yeah.
Rodney was in the loop, and then he became an artist.
Producers, engineers,
you know,
all the best engineers, you know, the whole shebang, man. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And everybody knew everybody. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody worked together. Leave your egos outside. You know, bring your ego. Put your egos in your songwriting, but don't bring them to this room because everybody in here's got egos. So
he was very good with people, and he seemed to get the right people at the right time in the right jobs and in the right bands to make the success he got, to be one of the most successful label managers of all time. And that is some feat because he was dealing with a lot of different personalities. And then he of course he put Ozone together and gave them a 5-album deal. You know, so he wasn't, you know, he was always on top of things. You know, when it came to finding talent and putting it out at the right time.
And to be honest, getting 5 albums on Motown was damn near impossible.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I feel we feel very blessed to have gotten to do like all kind of genres of music too. For it to be Motown, which was you know, soul and R&B and stuff like that, right? Well, you know, from starting with Rick James and ourselves, we got to change that narrative and add funk to that, you know, to that whole thing. You know, Commodores was funky, but they wasn't really a funk group. They still was a pop, R&B soul act. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But from Rick James, Tina, ourselves, you know, we started the funk and stuff like that. Also, we were able to branch off into well, we did our first album was jazz, actually. So we did a jazz album first. And then we was able to branch off later on in our careers with new wave, because I was kind of obsessed with Devo, and I was like, I want some of that myself, right?
Yes,
so
right.
we called Susie, which Motown, you know, hey, they said, hey, this is a hit.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible that you. I mean, a lot of people would be glad to just get 1 album on Motown. You got 5. And then you backed 3 of their major artists. It's like, come on, you know. And I think
getting 5.
And I think people just are really not aware of Ozone and the band and its history. I think the fact that you did so much, you know, in the background, if you like, and but for other artists, people don't really know the Ozone story or the history behind it. And it's still happening today.
You know, Paul, another thing that happened is when it was time for us to support our records or go out on a tour, a lot of things kept coming up. Like, for instance, Sammy Davis Jr. needed an opening act for his tour. And mind you, Sammy Davis Jr. crowd was not Ozone fan base.
Right.
And but then the option was, hey guys, you can go, you know, play shows with Gap Band and Lakeside and these groups, or you could go and open up for Sammy Davis Jr., you know, and it was like, you know, kind of a no-brainer to hang out with the Rat Pack instead, you know?
I mean, I forgot about that guy. That's another story in itself. I mean, this is crazy.
Man.
I mean, you know, we've even got, and you've also got a connection to Little Richard. I mean, you started with your apprenticeship, wasn't it, as a bass player? I mean, how many people do their apprenticeship as a bass player with somebody like Little Richard? You know, your first gig, Little Richard, when you're 20. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
And how did you get that job? I mean, how do you walk into an apprenticeship as a bass player with Little Richard?
Well, I actually ended up recording on one of his songs that he did, Down and Out from Beverly Hills movie that he was in, and he did the song called Great God Almighty. I was with Billy Preston at the time. We were living in Amsterdam, in Holland.
Right.
And Billy said, "Hey man, we got to go to LA. We're gonna record some music with a guy." He didn't say who it was or nothing. And so myself and guitar player Robert Palmer, we walk into the studio, and there's this guy sitting in the dark in the corner like you are right now, Paul.
Yeah, in the dark.
But he was sparkling. He had the sparkly shoes, the sparkly neck, the sparkly arms, hands. And I said, "Wow, who is this guy?" And he's like, hey, man, Little Richard. And so, we did that session. After that, Richard was like, "Hey, man, if you guys, hey, call me up if you want to hang out." So we decided to call up. Really,
amazing story.